Good evening. It's Friday, July 10th, 6:35 p.m. Rollometers has reset. Let's look at the numbers and look at the latest news. So today, the USA broke another record. For the first time in one day, we have over 70,000 new cases at 71,787. Uh, you know, that, and then Brazil is second, 45,000. India third with their own record of 27,000. South Africa fourth, 12,000. For deaths, the deaths are beginning to rise. Brazil number one again at 1,270. USA 849. Mexico 730. India 421. So we look at the graphs, overall graphs. Daily cases are the graph has merged. So the world is in the beginning of its first wave. It's not a good sign. The deaths are going back up again. It seems like the deaths are spiking. And at this rate, this graph won't even have a chance to show a second wave. I think when it really comes down to it, we're at the beginning of a massive first wave worldwide. You can see the graph right here. It went up, it went down, now it's slowly going back upwards. And that's very concerning. Let's look at state by state in the USA. And we have number one for new cases. Oh, I'm back. I know California is now among the worst, which is a shame because they were doing so well. So number one was Florida at 11,433. Second is Texas at 10,063. California at third, 8,700. Georgia at fourth, 4,500 if you want to round it off. So Georgia just kind of coming out of nowhere. For deaths, Texas has the most deaths today. Texas is at 104. California 102. Florida 93 and Arizona 44. So deaths are increasing all across the states, most of the states, and see, we have a lot of military getting infected. That's 22,000 infected in the U.S. military, and people who are catching the virus in the military are being let go. And I am not sure if they're allowed to come back. They might have rewritten their original plan of letting people who have the virus go. But if they're not willing to let them come back in, that kind of gives you a hint that they don't see this as going away. Since it being a virus, that's still not very well understood. But that's concerning. We have 23,000 in the U.S. military infected, and they're dying. And these are young kids, a lot of young kids, fit, healthy. So we have to watch the U.S. military tab. We have to watch veterans. Again, this country does not care about its veterans. They have a homeless problem. Now they have a SARS-2 problem. The prisons. California is. I read today they're considering letting 8,000 people from jail go early. Now keep in mind the outbreaks in the jails in America are horrible. So if you're gonna let all these prisoners come out, you might just be releasing infected upon the community. And of course, Diamond Princess don't even report it no more. And I do want to point something out because World has reset. If we remember back then, there was a lot of praise towards Australia and a lot of praise towards New Zealand for their containment of the virus. Just right now, Australia has plus 191 deaths. So Australia Australia seems like it's gonna end up succumbing to this virus because just too many community outbreaks. New Zealand plus one. I mean, to me that's concerning, considering that New Zealand supposedly had won the fight. China, nobody takes China seriously. So going on to the latest news for today. Florida family sold toxic bleach solution as SARS-2 cure, federal charges say. I mean, we know all about the grifters, but that's just a low, all-time low. Jurassic World Dominion thrown into chaos on first day of filming after lockdown as several of the crew test positive for SARS-2. Now, as we know, practically all films are delayed, and because they are potential hotspots for the virus. You get the crew going in, the actors going in, you got the makeup artists, the close contact between all of them. So it's obvious that we're going to see some outbreaks within the film industry. UC Berkeley has 47 new SARS-2 cases in a week, mostly from frat parties. I mean, at this point, you get what you deserve, honestly. Weeks after President Trump demanded that America's shuttered houses of worship be allowed to reopen, new outbreaks of the SARS-2 are surging through churches across the country, where services have resumed. As I said many times before, the blood of Jesus is not going to protect you. And we've seen too many church outbreaks. I mean, I want to see the look on these people's faces once they catch it and they can't breathe, just to see the shock of how ignorant and how wrong they were. SARS-2 surge in Tulsa, more than likely linked to Trump rally. So Tulsa had a surge in SARS-2, and it's pretty much obvious that the president's rally there in Tulsa contributed to the spike. I mean, we already know people that went there began testing positive. It's been reported already. But what's not been reported is that it spread farther than that. Idlib's first SARS-2 case raises fears for Syria camps. Again, you have a very vulnerable people that are now getting exposed to the virus. They're not prepared for this at all. Yemen already collapsed. Yemen already has a lot of dead, and they're not even reporting anymore. Outbreak of dengue fever in Southeast Asia is exploding amid the SARS-2 fight. And nightclubs and hostess bars in Tokyo shut down after the Japanese capital recorded 224 SARS-2 cases on Thursday, the highest daily tally since the pandemic began. Now, I question Japan's testing. I think Japan has very bad testing, and they're shutting down. And again, because they wanted to preserve the Olympics, they procrastinated. And every day, in the beginning of the pandemic, a couple of days of procrastination will cost you a lot. And this country procrastinated for weeks on weeks, trying to hold the Olympics. It all failed, and they're paying the price, and it's going to get worse. SARS-2, millions of pints of beer poured down drains. Well, rest in peace. Disney World set to reopen at a weekend, despite SARS-2 surge in Florida. I mean, it's just foolishness at this point. But again, governments care more about the economy than their own people. SARS-2 not under control and is accelerating as global cases hit 11.8 million, WHO warns. Now, the WHO is not in the position to really have any kind of say, considering how much of liars they have been. But yeah, the pandemic is accelerating, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. It is showing many signs of speeding up. Pathologists found blood clots in almost every organ during autopsies on SARS-2 patients. This is why so there's a lot of people that are losing limbs, losing body parts, and it's tied to these blood clots. We saw in Nick Cordero how he lost his leg because of the blood clots, and there are many other cases. Some don't want to admit that it was the virus, but it was the virus. And so we're learning more and more that this is a virus that you don't want to catch, whether it kills you or not. And if it does kill you, to a certain extent, you were let off easy. Because people are potentially going to have lifelong chronic illnesses as a result of this. There are people who have been sick for months, and nobody knows when it's going to stop, and nobody knows why they have these chronic conditions that are linked to the virus. Horror Day in Australia, Victoria records 288 new SARS-2 cases, the biggest daily increase in infections since the pandemic began, and the 5th consecutive day of triple-digit rises. And they were once so proud. SARS-2 infections delay removal of capsized cargo ship off Georgia coast. So because of the infections, all these capsized cargo ships are just kind of left in the ocean because there's no crew to get them because they're sick and they're quarantined. Bolivia's interim president becomes third Latin American head of state to test positive for SARS-2. America, more than 1,000 TSA employees have tested positive for SARS-2. New York is blaming drinking and partying for a recent surge of SARS-2 cases among young adults. I mean, as pathetic as it is, people are going to learn the hard way. It's nothing that we could do about it. And just watch all this chaos unfold. Poll shows Trump's SARS-2 approval at all-time low. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, he can lie all he wants, but it's obvious that he's backwards when it comes to reality. Spain reported 73 active SARS-2 outbreaks, 6 more in 24 hours. Spain tried to look really well for those German tourists that came in. And once they came in and once they picked up the money, now they started to say, oh, it's falling apart again. California, downtown Disney reopens as SARS-2 cases surge in Orange County. Pathetic. The WHO, indoor airborne spread of SARS-2 possible. Where were you back in January? This is old news. We already knew this. Iraqi MP dies of SARS-2 as cases jump 600%. Another major politician killed. California, Florida, and Texas report new single-day high SARS-2 death tolls. Pandemic parties rage on across South Florida despite growing SARS-2 crisis. The foolishness of Americans is just beyond me, beyond my comprehension. Half of California counties now on state watch list as SARS-2 infections surge. Yeah, it's getting really bad where I'm at right now. It's getting really, really bad. At least 82 SARS-2 cases linked to Missouri Christian sleepaway camp. 7,000 Floridians hospitalized with SARS-2. State finally releases data by county. And then, with a record 10,002 SARS patients in Texas hospitals Friday, Abbott warns things will get worse. Yeah, so July is the month where it's going to get significantly bad. And we're just seeing the beginning of this. Thank you for watching.